Schönen guten Tag zusammen.
Hallo.
Hallo, hallo. Könnt ihr mich sehen? Könnt ihr mich hören?
Ja, jetzt höre ich dich gerade versetzt auf YouTube doppelt. Das ist ja meine Bobby-Experience.
Ja, bei YouTube muss dann ausmachen.
Genau, ich sehe dich tatsächlich noch nicht. Can't
Hm.
see you yet.
Lass mal kurz gucken, ob ich das aktivieren kann hier. Kann mir einer von euch weiterhelfen mit den Signalen hier von Discord? Diese Pop-Up-Sounds. Kann ich die
Ja,
bei
genau.
Discord selber ausmachen?
Das sind die zwei Sachen, die ich dir sagen wollte. Also erstens, da unten
Danke
ist
dir.
dein Name, ne? Links
Ja.
unten. Da ist so ein Schraubenschlüssel, ne? Benutzereinstellungen, klick da drauf.
Okay.
Dann Benachrichtigungen.
Warte mal ganz kurz. Bei mir ist ja im Englisch hier Benachrichtigungen. Advanced Activity. 1 second, guys. I just have to adjust the sound and I will be right with you.
Unter Text und Bilder ist das.
Okay, hier.
Benachrichtigungen.
Notifications,
Genau,
ja.
und da sind Töne und da steht alle Benachrichtigungen deaktivieren, das ist grau. Klick da drauf, dann wird das grün.
Das ist schon grün bei mir. Enable Desktop Notifications. Also muss ich dann Disable wahrscheinlich, ne? Enable Unread.
Ne, Töne. Steht da Töne?
Sounds, okay, hier. Ah, alles klar. Disable all Sounds.
Ja,
Perfekt.
richtig. Perfekt.
Fantastisch.
So,
Wunderschön.
und zweitens, die
Okay.
zweite Sache, damit du diese ganzen Bilder hier nicht siehst von den ganzen Leuten hier drin, klickst du oben, rechts oben sind 3 Punkte, klick da drauf und dann,
Warte mal ganz kurz.
ja,
Eine Sekunde. 1 second, guys. I'm just gonna adjust a certain thing here and then I will be right back with you.
Wait, I also have to do that, right?
ja.
Teilnehmer? No, there is just Teilnehmer ohne Videoanzeigen und meine Kameraanzeigen.
Genau.
There is nothing else.
Und,
Warte mal ganz kurz. Ich bin hier gerade rausgeflogen aus dem Discord. Hier sind wir. Okay, so.
okay, wenn du jetzt im Raum bist, dann siehst du die ganzen Profilbilder, ne?
Genau, genau.
Genau, und rechts oben siehst du 3 Punkte.
Jo.
Da klickst du drauf und dann machst du den Haken dort weg.
Ah, okay.
Und dann sieht man nur euch die Kamera übertragen.
Okay, jetzt sehe ich aber nur, Katharina ist der Name, richtig?
Raffaela.
Ach, Raffaela, okay.
Ja.
Also sehe ich nur die Raffaela gerade hier.
Genau, du bist
Ja.
nicht, du überträgst gerade nicht.
Ich übertrage gerade nicht. Warte mal, Turn on Camera.
Perfekt.
Something's loading.
Ja. Let me see.
Ja, wird gleich, als wir das getestet haben, war es genauso. Das dauert irgendwie ein bisschen.
Ja, mal gucken. Weil OBS Center bzw. Streamlabs greift ja schon zu auf meine Kamera.
Ja.
Deswegen weiß ich nicht, ob die hier überhaupt wiedergegeben wird. Oder ich mache die Virtual Cam an und dann wird das aber versetzt aussehen. Deswegen, mal schauen.
Aber als wir das
Eugen
gemacht
hat
haben, ging das doch alles perfekt.
Ja, aber da war ja das Streamlabs noch nicht am Stream, ne? Warte mal kurz.
Wüsste ich nicht, was das für eine Relevanz spielt. Wenn
Ja,
das-
wirst gleich sehen. Weil ich
Okay.
gebe hier das ganze Fenster wieder. Eine Sekunde. Okay.
Ich hatte vorher das gleiche Problem, als ich meine Kamera-App offen hatte gleichzeitig, konnte ich hier meine Kamera nicht öffnen.
Genau. Ich glaube, das wird genau dasselbe Problem sein. Okay. Wo kann ich denn die Kamera ändern? Kannst du mir das sagen, Eugen?
Ich glaube, das ist dieses 4. Symbol da, oder? Dann gibst du so ein kleines Häkchen unter der Kamera und da kann man auswählen.
Normalerweise macht man das auch über Einstellungen.
Achso, hier.
Und dann
Okay,
gehst
warte
du
mal kurz. OBS Virtual Cam, Change. Der zeigt die gar nicht an. Logitech Stream Cam, ja, der kann. Okay,
Ja, jetzt.
das kannst du sehen.
Yes.
Das ist gespiegelt. So, wenn wir damit wieder zurückgehen, dann wirst du im Endeffekt sehen, wie das aussieht bei YouTube. Das sollte aber okay sein. Das sollte an sich okay sein.
Ja,
Okay.
das ist nicht gespiegelt. Man kann die Schrift lesen, ganz normal. Ist alles
Echt?
perfekt.
Für mich ist es gespiegelt.
Es ist nur bei dir selbst.
Es ist nur bei dir
mir ist es auch
gespiegelt.
Ah, okay.
Für uns ist
Kein
es.
Problem.
Ja, okay.
Okay, dann gehen wir wieder zurück. Eine Sekunde. So, rein. Alright, guys, we are back. Just give me a little bit more time, of course, until I fix this mess here. And then we should be fine. Let me just adjust the window. We have Rafaela already with us. I'm gonna introduce her in a bit once I set everything up here. Boomer Bobby at work. Okay, here we go. Fantastic. Ja. Okay. Rafaela, is that all right for you as well?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, fantastic.
Wait, no, fuck. Thinking other way around is difficult.
Yeah, wait a second.
Don't cut off my text. Don't cut off my text. Come on.
Wait a second, we can
Back
show
in.
it. We can show it. Here,
Yeah,
guys.
awesome.
Speciesism is racism. In case you didn't
Thanks.
know, now you know. Speciesism
know.
equals racism. I think you're gonna explain that so we understand what it means, because we are dumb
sure.
meat eaters over here. We don't really get it. That would be
No,
nice
it
if
would
you
be
can
too easy
enlighten
if
us.
you were dumb.
No, I'm dumb. I'm stupid. I don't know much. Meat eaters in general. We have clogged brains, clogged arteries due to cholesterol. 1 second. Let me just adjust this and then we can get started. Okay, here we go. Yeah, see, like this we can even see the text. Fantastic.
Thanks.
Perfect. All right, guys. Finally, we did it. Took me some time, but now we're here. Rafaela, welcome to the show. For people that don't know Rafaela, she is known as Die Militante Veganerin. To English, it is the Militant Vegan in Germany. I noticed a Instagram story of hers, and I'm going to paraphrase what I saw. It was a lady that was complaining about having issues whilst eating vegetables, and she still wanted to go vegan. So Rafaela said, good on ya, but I got interested, how should this lady go vegan if she reacts bad to vegetables? So I asked what Rafaela recommended, and she said, I'm quoting, vegan junk food, and then introduce vegetables slowly. So I was shocked about that, and I wrote Rafaela right away, and she kindly invited me to her Discord server. And here we are. Rafaela, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, you paraphrased that correctly. It was a man actually who saw a few of my TikTok videos where I did disruptions or talked about the fact that speciesism is racism. And he was intrigued by the concept and looked more closely into it. And he thought, okay, I don't want to be a racist, so there is no reason why I should be a speciesist if I want to be morally consistent. So he wrote me, okay, I'm totally in line with the moral part of veganism, but how do I do it? I hate vegetables. And I am someone who used to be a very picky eater, so I totally understand where that comes from. However, you answered, and I'm paraphrasing here, of course, too, because it was in German. Yeah, eat junk to save the animals, typical vegan logic, and you put that under quotation marks.
Yes.
So just to say why I answered that way, since he's a person who doesn't like vegetables anyways, that doesn't change if he eats meat. So he isn't at the moment eating lots of vegetables. He is probably also living off of a lot of junk at the moment, and not having a very healthy, balanced diet. So saying, okay, the meat junk food that you eat at the moment, you can simply take a vegan alternative for that. Doesn't really make his diet much more unhealthy than it already is. And I also sent him large, lengthy voice messages where I explained how I came to eating a very healthy plant-based diet, which was by slowly introducing vegetables through smoothies, putting more and more spinach into them, or experimenting in sauces where I didn't even notice if I cut up a zucchini and throw it in there, which I think is, to clarify that, quite a clever way to sneak in vegetables into your diet if you don't really like vegetables. So I think it's not really fair that you put it that way, that I simply recommended for him, go and eat vegan Nutella all day long for the animals, go and kill yourself. That's not what I did, just to clarify.
Yeah, because we on this channel here, we recommend healthier eating habits in general, so staying away from junk food in total. But you said something very interesting there. You mentioned that in order to get some vegetables into your diet, it would be a good idea to blend them with things that you like, but wouldn't that already be an indication that vegetables in general are not really suited for human consumption?
I wouldn't say that just because one person doesn't like certain vegetable, the taste of them, that would definitely be evidence for vegetables not being suited for human consumption. No, that's not a very logical thing to say.
Do you know anything about anti-nutrients in vegetables?
I think you referred to something like oxalates as anti-nutrient before.
Phytates.
So there's definitely some things that can hinder the resorbing of some other nutrients, but you can't really call them anti-nutrients because our body is perfectly capable of regulating how much we should uptake certain nutrients from vegetables. But vegetables aren't the only thing that a human should consume for a balanced diet. Fruits, vegetables, legumes, grains, nuts, seeds, everything that doesn't breathe and everything that doesn't come as an excretion from something that breathes and feels just like you and I. So, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I would say let's frame our talk first because we can get into the nutrition part later on. Of course, we disagree there tremendously. I could list all kinds of negative side effects coming from plants, be it the oxalates that can lead to kidney stones and whatnot. But let's frame the talk first and foremost. I think what is interesting about you is your text in the background to start with. Speciesism is racism, so that you have an ethical standpoint first and foremost, right? So let's talk about the ethics of veganism. Let's talk about why it is bad to eat animals and why speciesism equals racism. Let's clarify that and then we can dive deeper into it.
So I'd just like to come to explain what veganism actually is and what I define that word as for everybody to be on the same page here. So there's two answers that I give to why I am vegan, and there is a very kitschy answer, which is don't do upon others that you don't want to have done upon yourself. And I think that you, as a rather religious person, would probably know that statement. I think it's also in the Christian text that you should not do upon others, which you don't want to have done upon yourself, which is very simple if you look at veganism that way, because I don't want to be standing at the slaughterhouse and I don't want to be abused for my lactational secretions or have my children taken away from me, which is something that happens in the animal industries. So I don't want to have that happen to me, which is why I don't want to do it to others who can feel in just the same way as I do. And the second part is the logical part, because I want to be logically consistent, which is what I have on the back here. That speciesism is racism, and that veganism simply is a logical extension of human rights. Human rights not in what we have in the law, but what we give intrinsically as a value to every feeling being on this planet. That they have the right not to be abused for their bodies as objects, and they should have a right to physical integrity. So racism and every form of discrimination means treating somebody worse on the basis of an arbitrary trait. In racism, that would be on the trait of skin color or culture. In sexism, that would be the arbitrary trait of sex. And in homophobia, the arbitrary trait would be not being, for example, heterosexual. So when we talk about speciesism, the arbitrary trait is the species. But if we think about just the species being a reason to send somebody to the slaughterhouse, we are making the logical error that there is no morally substantive reason to treat species as a reason to send somebody to the slaughterhouse, just like there is no morally substantive reason to enslave somebody just for their skin color. So if you don't want to be racist because you are against discrimination on the basis of an arbitrary trait, then you should not be speciesist either. It's just a logical expansion of not wanting to be discriminatory.
Yeah, I know that vegan talking point. I personally am not for human rights. I'm personally not for democracy either. So those points are not really ringing true to me to begin with. I don't have any issues with differentiation in certain roles when it comes down to sex, gender in general. So what would be very interesting for me to understand is there, universally speaking, right and wrong? Because you mentioned religion. Is it wrong universally to eat animals? Because then I would have to say, of course, if we look into the wild, everything eats each other. So why should we exclude ourselves out of that cycle? Is it universally wrong? Is it bad to eat animals?
So just on this point, I saw some differentiating opinions or stances that you took in your videos too. In one video, you say, this video is nothing for you if you don't believe in right and wrong. And in another video, you have a debate that there is nothing that is objectively right and wrong. And I would actually, even though that might be controversial, say that...
Wait a second, sorry. I had a debate where I said that there is nothing objectively right and wrong.
Yeah, I think it was with Carnism Debunked, where you said that you talked about moral consistency and things not being objectively right and wrong. And even if they were, then it wouldn't matter. But I do understand your point.
No, just to clarify this so the viewers understand that too. With Carnism Debunked, that's his name, I mentioned that his worldview was a relative one. In his relative worldview, there was no right and wrong. Therefore, I asked, what is then the logical extension if we don't even have a baseline for right and wrong? So my personal viewpoint is, of course, that morals are not subjective, that there is universal ethic, universal moral. That's my standpoint, obviously. And that's why I ask you, where does it come from? Where do our ethics come from? Where does the moral standpoint come from to then claim eating animals is wrong? You shouldn't eat them. Why is it wrong? Where does it come from?
Oh, that's interesting. Actually, I didn't interpret your discussion that way. I actually wouldn't say that there is a right and a wrong. I think everything is dependent on the situation. Everything is relative. If you hold a gun to my head and say that I must kill the pig in order to survive, I think there might be a justification for me killing a pig. So I wouldn't necessarily say that me killing the pig is definitely wrong as an action always, because there might be situations where it could be justified. Of course, from the perspective of the victim, there is always a right and a wrong. So maybe here we could argue that this is not a relative thing to say. So from the pig's perspective, it is of course wrong that I kill him, even though I do it for my own survival in that situation because I have a gun pointed to my head. But in other situations, you must always look at the justification that the oppressor or the person using violence is using to say, is that right or is that wrong in that situation? When we take eating animals, for example, or eating animal products, there are only 5 reasons for people doing that. And that's tradition, habit, convenience, logistical convenience. The first one was social convenience, and taste. So these are all.
Nutrition.
Yes, what's the 6th one? Well, nutrition that we can talk about later. However, just let me put my stance forward on that. It is pretty clear that nutrition-wise, there is no justification to eat animal products since no animal product has a monopoly on any kind of nutrient that we cannot take from plant-based or grow in the lab or whatever. Anyways, like I said, tradition, habit, convenience, and taste are very low reasons to inflict terror, to be violent, and to murder someone, which is why I consider if you do not have to do it out of a necessity that you use animal products in any shape, way, or form, that is always wrong, especially if you know that there's an alternative. So I don't know if you're doing something wrong if you are grown up like I was, like you were probably too, like most vegans were. We all grew up in a very speciesist culture where it is normal as a kind of death ritual to kill and eat animals and their secretions 3 times a day. So I wouldn't necessarily say that a 12-year-old child who has never been confronted with speciesism or with the slaughterhouse footage ever is actually morally doing something wrong. However, a person like you who knows that there are alternatives, even though he does not believe in the nutritional evidence that is substantial, I believe that people who have thought about this before and who know of the alternatives, they definitely do something wrong since they adhere to these 5 factors, which cannot be a justification for violence.
Right. Okay. So I think it would be quite interesting to clarify for your viewer base as well, in order to understand where I'm coming from. And then I'm going to dive into the whole moral relativism subject. I personally was a vegan for 4 years straight. I did it for ethical reasons as well. I tried pretty much everything in the vegan handbook, be it the Daily Dozen, whole food plant-based diet. I tried every single supplement under the sun in order to fix my nutritional deficiencies. In the end, I was left with depression, tooth decay, digestive upset, etc., you name it. And then I got interested because I thought I did it wrong. So I started looking online, and all of a sudden we started seeing patterns. It wasn't only me after all, but plenty of other people, in the end, thousands of other people that did it wrong as well. Just last week we had a ex-vegan of over 14 years here on this channel. She ate vegan for 14 years and in the end ended up in the hospital with internal bleeding. Quite profound. So therefore, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and say, yes, a vegan diet is suitable for all stages of life, especially when organizations like the World Health Organization retracted certain aspects of that statement, and now all of a sudden it's not suitable for infants. Yeah, kind of problematic nutritionally, but as I said, we're going to speak about that later on. I don't come from a standpoint where I can justify and say, yes, it's absolutely suitable for everyone, and therefore I have to say that I'm doing something that I could be done otherwise. You could just eat the tofu instead of the meat. I've seen it with plenty of people that they cannot reclaim their health without animal foods. It's impossible. Anyways, that being said, you didn't really answer my question because you said it is situational. So yes, obviously, the victim has a subjective opinion of what is happening. That is crystal clear. Of course, you don't want to get eaten. I understand that too. But nevertheless, the reality is that ultimately, we all see it on a daily basis. If you just open your eyes and leave the city, that everything feeds on each other. Even little worms you will see are being eaten by plenty of ants and little insects. Everything eats each other consistently, so there is no change in that, no matter how much we go vegan within our city system. My initial question remains, why is it objectively wrong for me personally to eat animals, especially if I, subjectively, don't agree with your subjective moral standard? Because if we cannot base it on anything but an extension of human rights, and I say I don't even agree with human rights, where do we stand then?
Yeah, I knew that this was going to come up in that way, since I believe that you are against LGBTQ rights.
100%.
Women, yeah, that you're against.
Feminism,
exactly.
veganism, racism, all of those isms, Black Lives Matter ism.
Yeah.
I'm against all
So
of it.
you're blatantly openly homophobic. You're openly against female rights.
Homophobic would mean that I'm afraid of
No,
homos.
yeah.
So
I
no,
mean
not,
that,
not
yes, that's the original word ending for phobing is a scared,
comes
but
from
you're
phobia. Yeah.
then let me call it you're heterosexist. That's a more accurate word.
Super straight.
Yeah. So you're pretty straight about your opinion on not liking homosexual marriage and stuff. So obviously you don't subscribe to this, because if you were against racism, against homophobia and stuff, it would be much easier and obvious that you would also not want to be speciesist. So of course,
I absolutely agree with that. Sorry to interrupt. I absolutely agree with that, because I mentioned before on my channel that all of those isms, they go hand in hand. So I absolutely agree with you. So if you're for feminism, you're much likely to be against racism, against speciesism, and all of those isms, for sure. But me personally, I'm just interested in right and wrong. Nothing much.
Yeah.
I'm simple, as I said in the beginning.
Exactly. And I think that discrimination on the basis of an arbitrary trait which has no morally substantive value is always wrong. So that is my answer to that. If there is a moral right and wrong, then I'm always of the opinion that discrimination on the basis of an arbitrary trait that has no substantive value, and it's very important, that's why I say it twice, is always wrong. And speciesism is therefore always wrong. But coming back to what you said before, why is it wrong for me to kill animals if the lion in the wild kills the gazelle? That is pretty much the point that you're making. Am I right about that? Is that the question what you're asking?
Not necessarily, no. No, not necessarily. No, that's not the question. It's not, the lion eats the gazelle, so why can't I eat the gazelle? That's not the point. That is an appeal to nature fallacy. I get the talking points. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm simply talking about, where do we derive a right and wrong from? You just said, for me, if it is based on a certain ism, then it's always wrong. But I'm asking, where is it considered wrong? Is there a fabric in the universe, a certain law book where it says it's wrong? Or is it just your opinion that it's wrong? Because personally, I come from a rural area in Macedonia, and my uncles, they're all hunters and butchers. Little kids in their, when they're 2 or 3 years old, they're already torturing cats for fun down there. I've seen it all. So yeah, they haven't been conditioned by media or whatnot. That's how they live their lives. If you look into the work, for example, of Weston A. Price, he went roughly 105 years ago into rural areas, and he couldn't find a vegetarian or vegan population. So no matter where he went, far away from any type of Western civilization, people were always eating animals. So I'm not saying, oh, therefore natural, therefore good. I'm asking the question, why would it be wrong for the human being to do what comes organically for him? And moreover, even if that would be wrong, why is it wrong?
Oh, it's so funny how you also appointed that as a naturalistic fallacy just a minute ago, and then you phrased the question just exactly the same way. Why, if it comes naturally to us, and we have always done it, which is something that is up to debate, why is it then wrong for the human to do it now? Which is exactly a naturalistic fallacy that you have just made, or a traditionalist fallacy, just because we have always done something, and just because it comes naturally to us, which it does not, because the human species does not really naturally have a killer instinct. Like if you drive with a car and you overrun a cat, your first thought is not, yummy, that's gonna be my snack for the rest of the trip. Looks delicious. Your first thought is, oh shit, I just caused needless death, and the poor thing, should I go and help it? So we are naturally actually averted by carcasses, by blood. There's a reason why many people vomit when they see blood, when they see operations happening, and we don't start to salivate when we see blood. But even if we did, just to come back to your question, why it is now wrong for the human being to inflict needless suffering if he doesn't have to, well, my form of saying that right now just answered it, because we inflict needless suffering even though we have an alternative and we don't have to. We know for a fact right now, and I know that you do not believe in science, but rather believe in magic mushrooms telling you to eat eggs, that we do not have to eat animal products for survival, for sustenance, in order to thrive. So I have chosen to be vegan because I do not want to inflict needless suffering upon others. And it is wrong, in my opinion, and yes, that's an opinion, but I also think that ethics has nothing to do with opinion, but is a logical extension of something that we do not want to have done upon ourselves, the basic human right. And I know that you do not believe in human rights, but listen up. If I took your body, stuffed you in a slaughterhouse, and cut you up and told you, I do not believe in your rights, which is why I will now butcher you and eat your scalp because the hairlessness of it looks so yummy to me, which is exactly what you do
Delicious.
with pigs.
Look at it, guys.
Delicious, yes.
Meaty.
Then I am doing something that is obviously very wrong to you. And I think we can agree that it would be not very nice. It would break some kind of, call it right, call it, I don't know what you want to call it. I don't like the word right because it always leads people to think I'm talking about the law or some kind of statutes or something. I believe that every being that can feel and suffer has a right to have that suffering to not it's difficult in English, to not have to needlessly suffer, to be, he has a right to his own physical integrity. I cannot simply view you as an object and put you to the slaughterhouse. My question to you is, why would that be wrong if I did that?
Well, my worldview is very simple. You shall not kill, so that just applies to humans. And this is where it starts and this is where it ends. Anyways, there's a lot of things that you said there that have to be unpacked, of course. You said subjectively, yet again, I feel it is wrong. That is your personal feelings. That doesn't dictate how society should be. That's simply your opinion. I'm asking for the 100th time, yet again, and I think I'm not going to get an answer. Where does right and wrong come from? Is there right and wrong? Is there good and evil? Why should we adhere to your subjective notion
one question
not
after
wanting
another
to eat animals?
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay. Where does right and wrong come from? We could, of course, view it from a religious Big Bang kind of theory point of view. We could view it from an evolutionary point of view, which you don't believe in. So that would be kind of a waste of time at this point, I think. But of course, there's an element to evolution. If you want to look at this part, that we have mirror neurons in our brain, that when we see suffering, we are also suffering, not in the same way, but we suffer in a kind of way. We do not want to be around suffering. We want it to stop because we have mirror neurons, which force us to want to take care of our environment. And we also have developed something like a conscience. Some people more, some people less. Some people don't have any because they're psychopaths. That's about 0 to 2% of society, which you might also be, I don't know. But if you think that killing a pig, which you have stated, is a perfection, then I might see you as a psychopath. However, that would be a diagnosis, and I'm not equipped to make that kind of diagnosis. It's just my thought when you say something like that. But where does right and wrong come from? From this kind of conscience that we have developed. And there's, like I said, ethics is ethics is grounded in something like logic. So we can logically say, okay, I can suffer. I can suffer. I am an individual. I have a body which I do not want to be harmed, and I do not want to be sent to the slaughterhouse. So since you have a similar buildup as a human being, I suppose, that's my best guess, because the only thing I know is that I can think, and that's all that I know, is that you also do not want to suffer, that you are also an individual who does not want to be sent to the slaughterhouse. Now, you say that you shall not kill only applies to humans. But I say, if I follow ethically logic, then I must also apply this, thou shalt not kill, to other human animals that we raise as so-called livestock. Since there is no morally substantive difference between the human animal and the other animals that we use as livestock. And that's just ethics. This logical step of going from humans to other species, unless you are blocked by speciesism in your brain, which might also come from you being a psychopath, I don't know.
Yeah, that must be it. Psychobabble.
I don't know.
Totally deranged.
Anyways,
psychotic.
then you must also...
Essentially, it is 99% of the human population at the moment. They're all psychotic, and you vegans are not. Proceed.
No, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. Like I said, people who have fun in torturing animals, people who do not have a conscience, or view killing as something beautiful, and get pleasure out of that and torture. We have definitions what a psychotic person is, and that's usually somebody who also shows the trait of not having a conscience and deriving pleasure from causing needless harm to animals. I'm not saying that 99% of the human population is psychotic. Actually, we have studies on that. It's about 0 to 3%, like I already said. But 99.
Only meat, nevertheless. That's strange.
Yeah, that's what I said. We all grow up in a. You can calm down. I'm not saying that everyone's psychotic. I'm saying that most people grow up in an environment where, through speciesism that's been indoctrinated, that's been passed on, and through something that's called the Milgram experiment that you might know. That's the reason that we consume animal products. That 99% of animals people do that.
So you mentioned religion there yet again. You're quoting, "Thou shalt not kill." Are you religious? Do you believe in God, or where does that come from?
No, you started with "You shall not kill," so that's why I took upon your language.
Yeah, but you keep on mentioning religion. Do you believe in God or not at all?
No, I don't.
So there is no God.
No, I don't think there's a God.
Okay. Again,
I've not seen evidence for a God.
Ultimately, you say people that eat animals, whatever, are psychotic.
No, I did not say that.
When we look at it, what would be your explanation why in every single rural area, every single civilization, no matter where you look at, people naturally, organically eat animal foods? Why would that happen in the first place? So don't scream,
Tradition?
Appeal to nature fallacy right away.
No, I did not.
Why did that happen to begin with? Yeah.
Tradition, habit.
How did that tradition start? Why did they start eating animal food?
We humans are something that's called an opportunistic omnivores. So since about 200 million years, I think, the Homo sapiens sapiens exists, and we have been 90% of the time since our evolution, we have been eating a mostly plant-based diet. We know that's from looking at cavities and teeth and the digestive tract and whatever has been resting upon in the bones of people we found from back then. Anyways, we have been eating opportunistically. So basically, when we had the possibility, we got all our calories from very fiber-rich foods, fruits, vegetables, legumes. We started cooking, and we didn't only start cooking and throw in meat. No, because hunting and gathering, hunting for animals, burned way more calories than gathering fruits and stuff. So our brains mainly expanded. It seems from the fruits and from the starches that we could finally heat up and break down and get even more into our brains, and we could settle and we could grow grain and stuff, and we could finally get all that glucose which fuels our brains. So there's where the tradition came from. We also started to, from this opportunistic way of eating, we thought, okay, somehow this meat tastes good and we can finally settle down. We have bigger brains now. We can have chickens now and gather them and grow them like we grow our crops and kill them every now and again. So That's something that developed the tradition. Of course.
Okay, let me just get my head around this. Sorry to interrupt, but that's very, very strange. So we start doing something that takes a lot of calories. We kill mammoths, which is obviously way, way harder than picking any type of fruit because we don't need to. Nowadays, we need to supplement with B12 vitamins, D3, DHA, EPA, and whatnot. We didn't have that back in the day. You yourself said nowadays maybe we have to use something lab grown on top of it. So we just do it out of sheer fun and build a tradition out of it. That doesn't make sense at all.
No, we don't only do it out of sheer fun. Back then, like I said, we were opportunistic. Eaters of animal products because we had to sometimes out of the opportunity, and because also sometimes we were like chimpanzees, for example, they eat 95% plant-based, but every now and again. Pardon? I didn't say that. I didn't say that, and I would like to finish. They eat 95% plant-based, but they're very curious animals. They're very instinct-driven sometimes, and they happen to kill mice every now and then. They even hunt rodents with sticks, which is actually kind of fascinating. They do that every now and again. So they derive some kind of pleasure from that. They have instincts going from that. So that's definitely something that developed. But just to conclude the tradition point of view, it really does not matter so much why we do it or why we did it until now, how it developed, how the chicken grinder suddenly stands, and why we have buildings called slaughterhouses that we also name our horror movies as, how they suddenly came into being. It doesn't really matter. The question is why we should continue having that when we know that these animals are just animals like we are and they're individuals. So the question really is not the tradition, how it came to be, but why we should stop it now.
You basically gave the answer yourself because you mentioned we are opportunistic omnivores. So if you're omnivore, that means that you're not a herbivore, and this is why we see so many issues with the plant-based diet. Because you have a thing called insoluble fiber. This is why most people experience digestive upset. This is why most people have issues with vegetables. And this is why, naturally, obviously, people ate a lot of meat. Because it digests perfectly fine, comes with a whole package of nutrition, and is perfectly suited for the human physiology. So the question is yet again, if we are suited anatomically, biologically, to eat meat, we did it because that is what our species did in its natural environment, just as any other animal would do too. I have to ask a simple question. I think that would clarify it much better for the viewers here. Are you then, as a logical extension, then of veganism, first human rights, then veganism, should we get rid of all the obligate carnivores within nature as well? Because some vegans argue for that too.
I would like to go back to omnivore things first, what you said before.
Go for it, but please don't forget.
No, I won't. I can write it down.
Nice.
So, like I said, we are opportunistic omnivores, and we aren't classical omnivores if you look at our digestive tract. So that's not necessarily true. Our digestive tract and our overall physiology has way more in common with the typical herbivorous creature than it does with the typical omnivorous or carnivorous creature.
Where did you get your data from? That's just blank false.
You already said once in a debate that our digestive tract is very short and it's rather that of a carnivorous animal, which is not the truth. Actually, our digestive tract has been categorized into a cookinivore, which is an animal that cooks. We have been cooking for a long time now, and we have kind of sorry, I don't know the word in English, but our digestive tract has adapted
in German
to...
if you want to. I can translate it.
I also forgot it in German now. Anyways, our digestive tract has adapted to breaking up the starches through the cooking process. So we have like a digestive tract that's, like I said, more of on the herbivore side. However, it's of course not comparable with the digestive tract of a cow, which has a very, very long digestive tract with lots of possibilities for all those fibers to be broken down. So we cannot digest grass. We are not ruminants. However, we can perfectly digest fruits and vegetables. And the classical...
Fruits.
Pardon?
Fruits, yes. Vegetables, not so much. Our
Okay,
pH level
anyways.
in our gut is 1.5, which is supremely acidic.
You already
Super
once
acidic.
said that in a debate, and it's not completely correct. It depends on what we eat, and it depends on what we eat. And studies with long-term plant-based people, or generally in rural areas where people eat mainly plant-based, which is also something that you stated before, that there are no rural areas or old societies where they eat mainly plant-based. That is not correct.
Mainly
if you look at the
plant-based means 80% or more of plants. Yes, I will give you that. And that might be true on certain populational studies. However, when they did that on the Okinawans, I don't know if you know about this. The Okinawans, for example, they got stormed during war, and this is when their pig supply got killed off. And this is when they did the study. If you look at the Okinawans right after those, I think it was 3 years, they reintroduced the animal foods yet again. So the Okinawan diet is super latent in pork, organs, etc. Especially in rural Asia, I traveled the whole thing. You will see that if they eat plant-based, they always add organ meats, broths, etc., etc. So plant-based is not vegan.
Yeah, I never said that it's totally vegan. However, veganism as a philosophy has been around since thousands of years, and there has been communities who have completely subscribed to not eating animal products. If you, for example, look at the Adventist health studies, where most of the Catholic, I think, religious people ate strictly plant-based, and Hinduism and all that. However, this is not about what I want to talk about. Our physiology is perfectly in line with digesting fiber-rich plant-based foods, and you keep on stating that meat is the perfect food for everyone. However, have you any not anecdotal evidence which shows how people cure their high cholesterol, their diabetes, their risk factors for chronic diseases by eating a meat-rich diet? There is no no evidence for that being possible with animal protein foods.
No, absolutely. I mean, I could pull up some studies if this is what the vegans want to see. That's not an issue at all.
I mean, I'd love to see those studies because it would pretty much break against any kind of conducted meta-analysis.
Sure.
That's an article, not a study.
It is. But we have here the study linked in the Internal Journal of General Medicine. This is just the article. To make it easier, I can click on the study as well. If this works better, here's the study. Here's a study for you guys. So this is the total meat
intake. You can
intake.
send it through, and I would say that we talk about studies later on or in the next few days. I like to read them through. But the most comprehensive, biggest
study... We can show, of course, many things. That's not a problem. We definitely have some articles and some studies. Thank you very much for the super chats, guys. I'm going to read out the super chats in maybe half an hour or so. For now, thank you very much for your support. First, we're going to keep the discussion going. If you have any questions for our guest, please send it through super chats as well. And then hopefully later on, we're going to get an answer to them as well. Thank you very much. Anyways, my point is that with the studies, of course, there's data on both sides. Ultimately, you can make the argument, no matter how you choose, if you want to base it on a study. I'm personally more interested in what is happening in real life examples. I can base it on the studies. Again, if you want to, we can go into it, no problem.
Yeah, you should definitely always base these kind of thing on studies and on comprehensive studies.
I know that's very interesting for you vegans. Me personally, I really don't care. I want to see what happens when people eat a certain diet and how they feel. What I'm interested in is real life results right away. So if somebody
which is exactly what somebody does when you make a study. Yeah.
Come again?
You actually see evidence for how people look and feel and get healthier or not healthier if you conduct studies and not by anecdotal claims where somebody said, hey, I reintroduced eggs into my study because the magic mushroom told me so. Now I'm feeling so much better.
That's hominem attack.
I did not make an attack.
Come on. Attack. Bobby took magic mushrooms. Bobby dead. Bobby bold magic mushroom man.
I did not say that. I did not say that. Come on, we can take a little bit of fun here.
I'm down, no worries. That's exactly the point. If you want to list studies, we can do that, no worries. I come prepared. I say it's simply something that won't be of much use if somebody is in the hospital right now, as we had it here on the show, and they are bleeding out of their butthole because they've been vegan for 14 years. I can show them all the studies in the world. and I could say, how about you stop eating those vegetables that
I
actually
can come with
disrupted your digestion in the first place, right? That would be
I can come with
much better
anecdotal
for them.
claims, of course, too, because I had my hands in the bleeding waterfall of people who were bleeding out of their asses as a doctor when I worked in a hospital. The people who were there had, in most of the cases, preventable chronic diseases, which were all linked to the terrible, terrible diet that they had. So I can just as well as you say that most people that I have met, and I can see how they change and feel when they eat animal products. This is not very constructive.
Absolutely.
At this
That's why we
point.
have to bring it back, because we don't want to talk about feelings. That's fantastic, and that's why I ask you for the 100th time and probably the last time, where does right or wrong come from? And you will base it on your emotions, and you will say it feels wrong. I don't like it. Most people don't like it. Appeal to majority. Why is it wrong to eat animals? Why is it wrong?
I did not make an appeal to authority. Stop saying
Yes,
that
you
I
did.
did.
Of course you did.
No, I did not.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the majority of the science says this. Most people feel like that when they run over a cat. Of course you did. 100%.
I was talking about human instincts, and human instincts is something that you would base on feelings of many people. So that is not an appeal to authority.
Only 2% are psychopaths. You didn't appeal to majority.
That is also not an appeal to authority. That is an
majority.
Look into.
I said authority and majority.
I meant majority. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That is also not an appeal to majority.
You did.
We can rewatch this whole thing and have a whole debate about if I did or did not say. But anyways, saying that most people do not have blonde hair is not an appeal to majority. Is an objective statement. That is just simply true.
That would be an objective statement, but you said most people feel a certain way. That is
I said most people are not psychopaths. Yeah, I said that, but you just said that is an. Oh my God, are you a child?
Okay. 100%.
That's great. Keep the child alive. Anyways, you were asking me, where does right and wrong come from? And I already answered that. It comes from ethical logic, and the only thing that I know for sure in this life is I feel and I think. That's all that we know. That's all we know.
It's all feelings.
I think. So I can feel. So if I know that from me, then from this point on, ethics expands, and I must look at the people or individuals that I talk to, that I interact with, and therefore conclude my ethics from me talking to them.
So then let me clarify it like this. You feel, therefore you think, therefore you feel. Fantastic. Let's take something extreme, just an example. We take Nazi Germany. So Nazi Germany wins, and everybody feels and thinks the same way now. The Jews, I can't even say it here on YouTube, otherwise they're going to delete the stream, have been whatever.
And there's nobody left. Hologram.
A hologram happened exactly, and nobody is alive anymore. So Germany took over the whole planet. My point is, everybody is in the Nazi ideology right now, and everybody thinks and feels the same way. Is it therefore right because everybody thinks and feels the same way?
No, that would be an appeal to majority, which I do not do. I conclude from ethics. So even if everybody is doing something morally wrong or ethically wrong, because morals are actually subjective, ethics are not, that does not make it right. So just because many people do it, just because many people eat animal products, just because most of the people eat animal excretions, that does not make it ethically right. It actually makes it an ethical emergency, an ethical catastrophe that we are all not vegan. Because if we look at the ethics, just like you said, it can't be right that suddenly everybody is subscribed to Nazi ideology. It can't be right that suddenly everybody is subscribed to speciesist ideology, when we know that ethically it makes absolutely no sense when you look at suffering of individuals and logical expansion.
Okay, so it is based on, again, as I said, I'm not going to get an answer. You just say it comes from ethics. Fantastic. So ethically wrong because they experience suffering. It always boils down to the same thing. So suffering, bad. I gave this example, and I think you already watched my stream, so therefore you know a little bit from where I'm coming from. If there would be no suffering at all implied, would it then be ethically wrong still? So for example, I give the example of let's say we give a cow a certain drug, just a little candy that she eats with her food, everything is fine, and then whilst being tortured and slaughtered and raped, that's when she experiences pure bliss. Absolutely phenomenal, absolutely fantastic. Through that process then, did we make it ethical?
And that's a really, really interesting question.
Thank you.
There's a difference between if you give the cow that to change her interests. Maybe I, right now, do not want to experience what you do to me when you give me that drug, even though in that moment I might experience absolute bliss, which is pretty much the same thing that you do when you give a person a lot of alcohol or some kind of party drugs and then rape them. They might actually enjoy it, but on the next day wake up and think, oh my God, that is a violation of my rights. That was terrible. So the difference is if that creature is born, or if that human is born with the feeling of if you rape them, they experience bliss. So their interest is actually in being raped. That would then not be breaking their interest, breaking their rights. So I would be in favor of doing so if that would give them orgasms or bliss or whatever. However, if you have to give them something in order to change their stage right now to be happy, to be in bliss, to not suffer in that moment, that would not be ethical. However, I would simply answer this question by asking you the same scenario with a girl. However, let's say that you are in a bar and you find some woman, I guess that you're heterosexual since you are against homosexuals marrying, and you're interested. Pardon?
I'm into trans.
All right, then you see a trans person and you're very interested in them sexually. Would it be morally okay if you want to rape or want to sleep with them, but they don't, to give them a drug that will make them happily come home with you so you can have sexual pleasure with them, and they would actually have pleasure in that moment? Would that then be okay for you? Would you say that I would do that?
As I said already, I personally don't operate under the same circumstance that right and wrong is derived from certain interest breaches or certain ethical breaches. I derive right and wrong from God. Therefore, I personally find it already morally reprehensible to go to a bar and to have casual sex. I don't subscribe to that either, and this is where the argument already ends.
No, it actually doesn't. Can you not answer the hypothetical?
Humans to animals to begin with either.
Yeah.
You simply said that suffering is the baseline, and if suffering is excluded, then I ask, why is it wrong then? You didn't answer that really.
No, I don't see suffering as a baseline always. You said that I do that, but I see actually there's a threshold and there's also rights violations. So it's a combination. Yeah, it's a combination of both. But I would like to go back to the bar example. Since you don't want to engage in hypotheticals, which I think is really sad.
Why? Why is it sad?
Because it hinders a debate very strongly. But let me just rephrase the hypothetical. Maybe you will then try to do it. Let's say you are not interested in casual sex in a bar, but you're on a beach and you see somebody who you'd really like to marry and have wonderful Christian sex in missionary position with. However, they do not want to do that with you. So you give them a drug and they then want to marry you and have wonderful blah, 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 blah. Would that then make it right?
Yeah, I think you go on a tangent because you are essentially attributing all of those thought patterns to animals. So me thinking about getting married, building a life, family, all of those concepts are human conceptualizations that the animal doesn't have to begin with. And that's why I asked the simple question, that animal that doesn't have such a power of conceptualizations like you do, simply lives life. It's born, eats, dies. That's pretty much it. So if its death then could be pleasurable, my question was, there is absolutely no ethical violation. You say it is of interest violation. I say interest is a conceptualization, yet again, that a human being can hold. The cow doesn't even hold that concept to begin with, and we know that.
So you cannot answer the hypothetical?
I already answered the hypothetical.
No, you said that you cannot answer it because something about animals, but I asked you, would it then be wrong or right to do that? Would it be wrong if you did that, if you gave that person the party drugs and made them marry you?
You want a right or wrong answer? Yeah, I can answer clearly. It is wrong because it's a human, yes. So
the trait is a human?
The trait is a human.
Okay, so we're back to the speciesism.
Name the trait.
It's so funny how you actually know name the trait, and you have been an ethical vegan for 4 years. You know all these arguments, but you still like say no.
And still
they don't matter.
And I'm eating animals. I'm eating flesh. I'm drinking their secretions right from the udder. It's strange,
super
right?
Tragic. Yeah.
So weird, right? And I'm not the only one. It's so strange, actually. How long have you been vegan?
That's an appeal to majority.
Just quickly, how long have you been vegan?
I've been little over a year. Why are you laughing?
God, this is amazing. Yeah, I talked
No,
to you in 4
I've
years.
been eating plant-based since 6 years, six and a
Yeah,
half. Wait,
plant-based.
not old, 7 years. No, I've been eating plants since 7 years, but I have
It's
not
amazing. I
adhered
didn't know
to.
that. That's fantastic. Honestly,
Yeah,
we're going to talk again in 4 years. I talked to
yeah,
ethical
no,
vegans over 10 years,
no,
activists
yeah,
as well. 10 years time, the latest. You're going to come
yeah.
around. It's fine. No worries.
Hey,
We're
sure,
going to be
let's
here.
make a date. All right, let's do
Absolutely.
that. We will go on the street and march against animal rights and to build more slaughterhouses. We want more
Totally.
blood. Yeah, we'll definitely do that. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. You're going to enjoy.
Yeah. Just as much as the pig enjoys the gas chamber that you chuck it in.
I don't eat pig.
So,
But thank you very much for asking.
what other animal that you needlessly cause suffering and pain and life to?
Nutritional needless, yes.
Yeah. I'm guessing that you're also wearing leather.
No, not really. I don't like leather.
Okay. Any other animal products that you use? Because, like I said, veganism. The definition of veganism is as much as practically impossible not using animal products for food, for fun, for clothing. So let's say hypothetically that you are a first case scenario that you are the only person in this world who cannot survive and thrive on a purely plant-based diet, and even all the lab-grown stuff that we could give to you to
Yeah, really repulsive stuff. I don't want to touch that. Out of ethical reasons.
Doesn't matter, hypothetical, you don't have to do anything. I am far away in the internet, I cannot harm you.
Thank God. Oof.
Yeah, thank you. So let's say theoretically
Now
that you are
making
the
fun.
only
Now I like it.
that you are the only person in the world who cannot cover their nutritional needs if
The only
they
one,
ate
yeah.
daily plant-based. Yeah.
I'm the
Wouldn't
only
that
one, guys.
still make it for all the other people who can cover their nutritional needs, since you're the only one?
Yeah.
Don't you think that it would then be a moral obligation not to cause needless harms and suffering for the simple low reasons of tradition, habit, convenience, and taste?
If, in your hypothetical, because you vegans, we really love hypotheticals, if nobody would need animal foods, then they wouldn't need to eat animal foods. Simple as that.
Okay.
So then your ethics, etc., comes later on. My point is actually very simple, because this, what you are describing there, would of course be somewhat of a natural predisposition as well, because if the human being naturally doesn't need any animal foods, then naturally the animal doesn't need to be eaten by the bad human. My point is, of course, that humans do need animal foods, quite obviously, and sorry to disappoint you, just a few years in, you're gonna see the same outcome, I guarantee you. That being said, if you then make the same assumption or the same hypothetical where humans actually do need animal foods to thrive, it would be very unethical to take those foods away from the human being. It goes both ways. Simple.
So,
it would be just as unethical as to take the grass away from the cow. I'm, for example, against corn-fed cows, soybean cows. I'm only for grass-fed animals.
Okay, let me just rephrase that so that everybody who listens actually hears that. If people do not have to eat animal products for their health, let's just say if, which is the case, you would say...
No, she caught me. Listen to this, guys.
You would say that it is the moral imperative not to harm others.
No, not at all.
You would say it's okay to harm and torture animals for fun.
Absolutely. So
Yes.
let me clarify. Yes, absolutely. So let me clarify this. For me, what is important is reality. What is really true and what is
you're
not.
in a hypothetical right now.
Doesn't matter. Listen. For me, it's important that it is actually true. Now, the cow, for example, on average, eats 99% grass. So for me, it would be wrong, not unethical, not moral, just wrong to give the cow something else than a species-specific diet. And the same applies to the dog. The dog, for example, is slightly more omnivorous but still a hyper-carnivore and would thrive, therefore, predominantly on raw meats. The same applies to cats. They would thrive on raw meats as well. The human being is a hyper-carnivore/omnivore too and thrives, therefore, you're laughing now, but wait a couple of years. It's going to change, believe me, it's fine. And thrives, therefore, predominantly on animal foods. And because that is so, I simply say every species, because I'm not a speciesist, every species on this planet should eat their species-specific diet. That's it. Let the cow eat grass, let the lion eat meat, and of course let the human being enjoy meat as well. Raw meat, on that note. I don't know if you know that, I eat predominantly raw meats as well. Delicious. Raw organs, raw milk, raw cow titty juice, very good.
I really don't care about
Delicious.
how you eat animal products.
Nutrition.
Yeah, no.
You don't really care about nutrition, yeah, I know.
So you said before you're not a speciesist. First of all, that's funny when you say that you would probably not eat humans and you should not kill humans, but you kill other animals.
Yeah, have you seen that?
Stop.
It's called
I just
cannibalism,
asked the
right?
question. It doesn't matter if it's ethical, it wouldn't matter.
No, it's not right. It's not right under God to eat other humans.
Yeah, under God. So God is speciesist. All right, so you are speciesist. So yeah.
God is speciesist. God's a species. Bad God. We hate God. We don't believe in God, but God is speciesist.
Yeah. So since you've been evading that question in a couple of debates that I watched, but you know what name the trait is, can you name me the trait?
Yes, we're gonna play it. Wait a second. Let me give you an applause for this. Let's go.
Thanks.
Name the trait.
Okay. Did I get an applause? I can't hear it, but
You can't hear it? Oh, that's a shame. You got an applause, a loud one.
Thanks.
Even a big cheer. It's a big cheer.
What's the trait that's lacking in animals that, if lacking in humans, that if I were to trait equalize the human, I could treat the human the same way that you're
treating it? So as I already said, hypotheticals I am not a fan of, but if we play this game, we have to use hypotheticals. I'm gonna say, if we have to go through this hypothetical roller coaster here, then I have to make certain things very, very clear. First and foremost, if we look at a dog, for example, a dog on average has 4 legs, 4 paws, has a little funny nose, ears, fur. A dog looks a certain way. So if we can agree on that that is what we understand under a dog, then we have a baseline to discuss what should happen to dogs. For example, if we discuss the Yulin Dog Festival, we're discussing actual dogs being eaten by Chinese people. Fantastic. So if we're talking now about name the trait, you, of course, out of your vegan arguing standpoint, if I want to call it that, want to make the human being into something that on a societal level couldn't function. So if we take, for example, a human being that has the IQ of a pig. Okay, cool. Would that justify it to eat it? If we would have a society of humans that have the IQ of a pig, then we don't have a society. You understand? So that is a hypothetical parallel universe that wouldn't work at all. So therefore, yes, I'm absolutely open. Let's play this game, but keep in mind, please, make it somewhat functioning even within your hypothetical. Okay? Can you agree to those terms?
Hypotheticals are not there to be realistic, so I don't know if I can agree to these terms. I didn't say
realistic, mind you. I didn't say realistic. I said functioning, at least. So at least it works out somehow.
Well, that is realistic. That is, you're using it synonymously. If you think that society cannot work realistically...
Yeah, no. If we, for example, say, hey, listen, we imagine a world where everybody is male, that would be unrealistic and that would be not practical either, because then after a generation, there's nobody left anymore. If we, on the other hand, would imagine a hypothetical where we have males that can procreate scientifically, blah, blah, okay, cool, then we have another argument. So I'm saying, if we name the trait now, I want to make sure that we don't exclude every single possibility of having a functioning society to begin with.
Okay. This is not about the realistics of having a functioning society. Yeah, like I said, I will not adhere to these terms because that's not what a hypothetical is about. It's like if I would say, what if I gave you wings right now? What would you do? That's a hypothetical that I'm posing. You now have wings. There you go. Hypothetical. You can of course say, well, that makes no sense because then cars would be totally. That would be our society would crash if suddenly everybody would be flying around. Like that's not the point of a hypothetical to make it realistic. It's just asking what if it were in that scenario. And you can answer these questions. I believe that you have the cognitive abilities to answer hypotheticals.
No, cholesterol makes me just blocked. As I said, no worries, we can do it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, again, realistic.
So what is
just keep it in mind. Just keep it in mind.
What is the trait?
Just keep it in mind. It's not about realism. It can be a fictional scenario. All I'm saying is that if you subtract all the attributes of the human being, which made the human being a human being in the first place, then we don't have a human being anymore.
And would it be then okay to eat it?
Yes,
if it can still suffer the same way, even though it can suffer the same way.
Yes, so obviously.
If I can, so it's the species. So you're just plain out speciesist.
I'm simply human and I eat animals. That's it.
Yeah, But you would not eat human animals. Why? Because they're
Because they're not animals.
human species. Because they're not
humans are not
human
animals.
species.
Yeah, humans are not
Okay,
animals.
call them animals or call them not animals. You would not call. We're definitely a species, be it animals or not.
It is a crucial aspect, of course, because if we are just animals, then why would we care about moral agency, ethics?
That's a good
we're just
question.
animals, but we cannot
Yeah, no.
eat other animals, but we're just animals.
Yeah,
So I say we're
but
not
that's-
other animals. Actually, a religious standpoint would be much better for you, because then you could say, hey, listen, we're not just animals, we're humans, and we have moral agency, and therefore we are different, and therefore then going vegan could be something that we should do. I think the
Yeah.
Adventist church would be something for you in that case. But if you come from an atheist perspective where you have no right and wrong, and now you say, oh, we're just animals, but don't eat the animals, why would I listen to that?
Yeah, I already said that there is ethical right or wrong, and you said something beautiful right now. We are humans. We
right or
have
wrong?
moral. Yes, I said
There is
that
ethical right
from
and
a
wrong.
perspective from the victim. There is always right and wrong, and
Only
if
from
we
the
have the choice to do cruel things or not do cruel things without it impeding on something that we necessarily need, then that is more wrong to do the cruel thing than not do.
Okay, so pain wrong.
No, I did not say that pain is always wrong. If I run a
wrong.
marathon, that is not wrong if I have pain while I run it. However, if I put a chicken into a factory to get some eggs from it, then I am breaking his rights to physical integrity and freedom and not to be used as an object,
gave him
and
the
that
rights?
is wrong.
Who gave him the
Like I
rights?
said, yeah, we're spinning in circles. We've been talking about where the rights come from and why I
Yeah,
give
exactly.
feeling
We'll never
individuals.
get an answer from a vegan. It's impossible.
Yeah, no,
you guys don't
that's
ground
not
on
true.
anything. You just grind on hypotheticals.
That's
human
so
rights.
funny. We can rewatch the whole thing and look how many
Please.
answers I did not give because I am giving you the answers. However, you did not name me a trait yet, so you did
The
not
trait
give me
is
an
being
answer.
created in the image of God.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the trait.
So
No,
from
really.
the perspective
Let's
of the pig,
play.
God would be in the form of a pig. So even if do you know that something that a monk or a priest once said? He said that if animals were ever to make a religion, they would definitely depict the devil in the image of the human. How do you feel
Yeah.
about that statement?
I feel about that statement that must come from a very ridiculous person that again pre-assumes that those animals have conceptualization abilities.
Yeah.
So obviously they wouldn't have a religion.
So let's go for the trait of conceptualizational, blah, you know what I mean, abilities. Yeah. Let's say that a human does not have these abilities. So he is cognitively impaired.
But that's not the trait. You asked me to name the trait. I really mean this. My trait is being created in the image of God.
No, but you also just now used that as a way to say that it's okay because since the animals cannot fathom,
It's
you
an extension.
said okay.
But that's not my trait. My trait is being created in the image of God.
Yeah, so what if I say, okay, Bobby, I have now been converted by this flickering piece of dust, and I now believe in a dust god, and this dust god tells me that everybody with a beard is the devil, and I may eat them.
Okay.
Would that make it right for me to chuck you in a blender and drink you?
How does that have anything to do with the trait now? I don't understand.
Well, no, I have a god. You have a god, okay? We have a god. We both, okay. I believe that my god is the right god, okay? And this god is telling me that I have to eat people who have a beard.
Okay.
This is the logic. Pardon?
Bon appetit.
Yeah, thanks. So would that make it right?
For that, you would have to understand if your religion is the right, wrong, or not. So therefore, we would have to go into theology. So I have a pre-assumption, of course, which religion is true and which one is not. If we look at the Aztecs, they had similar belief systems where they sacrificed people, where they ate their hearts, etc., that made the whole civilization fall. Because that is so, we have to pre-assume that their revelations were wrong, of course. There will be a theological subject. It doesn't matter. Because you asked me to name the trait. I do name the trait. The trait that I name is being created in the image of God.
Image of God, yeah. And I said that my trait for killing you...
Yeah, that's okay. That's your trait. That's fine. I don't care about your trait. You want to play name the trait with me.
Yeah, so I just finished playing the game with you, and I'm just trying to show you how absurd it is that you use
you asked me about a trait. So now I have only a certain amount of answers to that trait. I gave you the trait.
Yeah, you gave me the trait.
Do you want another trait now?
Can you calm down a little bit?
I'm relaxed.
That's great.
Easy.
So, You said the trait is being created in the image of God, which makes it for you right, or at least not morally wrong,
That's my trait.
to systematically enslave and murder other individuals. Now I say that I have a God who tells me to do the same thing with you. Would that be okay then? Is that a morally substantive trait that my food is created in the image of bobbies, so I now have to eat bobbies because God told me to do so? Is that enough evidence, this belief of mine into the dust god, into the eat bobby god, to actually eat and murder you? Is that a good trait? Is that enough to justify violence?
Depends if your religion is right or wrong. For that, as I said, we have different analyzing methods. And in that case, I would say that your worldview would be wrong. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, it's really difficult, of course, to argue against that, because if you believe that your religion is right, and
you believe your religion is right as well. You believe veganism, which is a religion, actually it has even been a protected belief system within the UK now, is right. You base it on certain predispositions, such as ethics, suffering, human rights is a baseline as well of that conceptualization, speciesism, etc., etc. You have a belief system which is deeply religious, of course.
Yeah, but it's founded in logic.
You even asked me, and after a big back and forth, I agree to play with you and to name the trait.
Thank
and now
you
don't
so
want to play
much,
with me.
Bobby.
No
That's
worries.
so kind
I'm a
of
gentleman.
you.
And now you don't want to play.
No, we actually we played. It was a harsh battle, and we came to the conclusion that it was God, which is the trait. So that's fine. The game is over.
No. The trait is not God.
Or do you want to go another round? No, I know the trait is it's being created in the image of God.
Yes.
I understood that, which is the difference why you may kill and eat other animals. But let's just to further this. I know religion is a harsh thing to debate, but let's just say, okay, you cannot eat and kill humans because they are created in the image of God. However, that does not give you the commandment to eat and murder other animals, especially if your God has obviously, unless you also want to refute that, made the animals that you eat to be capable of suffering. So wouldn't a God want you to be kind and compassionate? Which is, can I actually open an image here that you can show your viewers, or does that not work?
Yeah, we can try.
Okay.
Let's go. I think you would have to put it into your video frame, and then I could show it.
Yeah. I don't know if I can do that, but I can.
Just try the screen share. I have no idea how Discord works.
Okay. So does this? Do you see that?
No, I don't see anything. Just give me a second.
Does anybody else see that?
No,
Or
no, you
should
can't see
I
anything.
ask the other ones?
Not even on Discord. No.
Okay. I'll just describe it to you then.
Wait a second.
So
you have a button? I can see it here. It says share your screen in English for me. So on the left-hand side, you have to turn off. You're sharing already?
I'm sharing already.
You sure?
Yeah.
That's weird.
But it doesn't matter really. I can just describe it to
after
you.
You click screen share, after you click screen share, there's a little other video window popping up.
I'll do it again, but I'm pretty sure that I'm already
now something's happening. Now something is happening.
No, I can't imagine. So now I should be sharing something.
1 second.
It doesn't really matter. It's just an old picture of yours.
Okay.
That you posted on Instagram, I think like 4 years ago, and it's a picture of you, very muscly, very toned.
Just give me a second.
I'm gone.
Ja, bitte. Yeah.
No, but it's really not that important. I just wanted to show something.
Warte mal ganz kurz. 1 second, guys. Sorry. Technical difficulties.
Sorry.
Ich sehe gar nichts. Stream. Nee. Kein Plan. Ich sehe es überhaupt nicht.
Okay.
Did I open something up or is it her now? Because now we can see myself double here.
Anyways, I'm just gonna turn this off now.
Yeah, try to turn it off.
Is my camera still there?
Nah, you're gone. That's the point.
No.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, it now says video chat is only available for 25 users, so I think we have to throw people out until I can turn on my video chat again.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Guys, join over YouTube
Oh,
otherwise.
okay. Yeah, I already did it. Okay.
There we are.
So what I wanted to
Welcome
actually
back.
show you was an image that you showed on Instagram a couple of years ago, where you were topless, and there were a lot of vegan things that you subscribed to and that you found great. And the last point is with a heart. It says, "Live your values, live with compassion, and
Yeah,
stop the
brainwashed.
violence." And
Yeah.
it's so beautiful. And I was like, oh my God, I'm such a fan of Bobby. He is such
I
a
believe you
strong
were.
guy. He has such a warm heart for the animals, for the humans, and he shows how we can be great human beings without having to murder or hologram other animals. So I thought that's, wow, what a character you are,
Thank
and
you very
I think
much.
that
I
you
appreciate it.
can still be that guy.
Yeah,
That would be,
as I
you would be
said,
such a
thank
strong
you.
voice for the animals.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I used to be that. I would say that in a few years' time, you will get to appreciate me even much, much more, because you will understand that my whole pursuit here on YouTube is a humanitarian one. And you will see that we are literally saving lives over here and bringing people away from the doctrine of devils, as I like to call it, veganism, and back to health.
Yeah.
It's quite beautiful, and you're going to appreciate it too very soon.
Of course, I will appreciate you then in full. I'm very much looking forward to
In totality.
that. But I actually pulled that picture up, or wanted to pull that picture up, just because we were on the point of religion right now, and I was just trying to ask you: is your God a compassionate one?
He is a compassionate one, yes, a merciful one.
Okay, is my camera just stuck?
Your
or
camera
is
is
it just me?
frozen.
No. No, my camera actually isn't. I think it's your Streamlabs.
No, wait a second, let me see.
Yeah. So your God is a
Back on,
compassionate
right?
one or not? No?
Yes, he's compassionate one.
Okay, so does he want you to be compassionate?
He wants me to be compassionate, yes. I'm gonna
He wants you
bite.
to be compassionate. Okay, so you obviously already once brought veganism and compassion into the same topic, and you said that veganism is something compassionate. Why?
I thought so, yes.
Why? Why did you think so?
Yeah, I thought it is compassionate because I believed that humans are actually predisposed, like you do nowadays. You think that to eat predominantly plants or plants exclusive. Once I realized that that is not the truth, and again, if you really want to go into studies, I can show you plenty of stuff as well. I saw that ultimately the biggest issue with veganism is that it goes against the species-specific diet of human beings, and with that, of course, attacks the human physiology, the human anatomy, and leads to all kinds of diseases. Once I realized that, I had to admit that I've been wrong as a vegan for 4 years straight, and I had to reclaim my health through animal foods and do the same for my viewers too. So it is not compassionate if it destroys human lives, as it wouldn't be compassionate, even though I don't subscribe to those terminologies anymore, to feed a cow anything but grass. That wouldn't be right. Yeah.
Well, you do kind of subscribe to them, or the meaning, because you said that your God is compassionate and that he wants you to be compassionate. So
Yeah,
what
as
does
I said,
compassion...
in the context of veganism, of, oh, it's not compassionate if you don't eat this and don't eat that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you generally say that making an animal or someone else suffer if you don't have to is can be considered to be cruel, or just the opposite of compassion?
It's a hypothetical again.
No, it's not. People torture animals every day, and my question is just, if you don't have to, like for if they have a dog or a pig or whatever, and you simply torture them, would that be considered cruel in your... Is that compassionate?
It's useless. You wouldn't have to do that, but it's up to you. Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if the animal is suffering. You don't take that into account at all?
No, I don't.
So you have a son now, or a child? I don't know the gender. I don't care about the gender. You have a child, right?
Easy now.
So yeah, don't worry. Would you, if your child sat in your living room and were torturing an animal, would you say that's not the compassionate thing to do and try to raise him to be compassionate?
Depends. I would be impressed on what damage he can inflict. Maybe we can eat it together.
Okay, if it's not an animal that you can eat, you can't eat
Most
any
animals
animal,
you can
just
eat.
don't get me wrong. Let's say it's a very sick animal and you could not eat it, and he's only doing it because it's fun to him, and he's inflicting needless suffering. Your child in your living room, would you try to stop him and raise him to be a compassionate being that should not inflict needless suffering, or would you encourage him?
No, I wouldn't. Actually, it's very interesting because that would mean that without conditioning, my child already starts torturing animals. So that would be
That's not the
proving my point.
question. It
That would
was
be
a
interesting.
hypothetical.
No, I would
so
let
you
it-
would
I would let it
so
be.
you would encourage him. Okay.
Sure,
Yeah.
for example, if my child would go out and just grabs a worm, for example, because the child cannot inflict really that much damage and starts eating the worm raw, I would be like, have fun, go for it.
Okay. So, but if you would do the same thing with another child who is weaker?
Who's weaker,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just normal for children to test themselves. It has to be.
But if he were like, I don't know,
parents.
taking a torch and burning off his eyeball, wouldn't you try to stop him?
Yeah, because it's a human being, yet again, sure.
Okay, so we're back to the human being thing. Yeah. So I think we have come full circle. I conjure that you are a speciesist, and I'm sorry for you, and I'm sorry for all the animals
But why would you be?
who suffer because of that.
Yeah. But also, let me ask you a hypothetical question, right? So I am this anomaly that cannot thrive on a plant-based diet. I tried. I'm a personal trainer myself, so I tried every single aspect of the plant-based diet, and therefore it simply didn't work. I did it whole food plant-based. I did the raw vegan thing. I really tried. I tracked all the micros, all the macronutrients. I supplemented B12, D3, all of that. Didn't work out. The hypothetical is I'm simply a genetic anomaly. It doesn't work. And now I'm thriving. I feel so much better. I'm able to provide for my family. I'm able to feed my family. I'm just a much better part of society due to that. Would you be happy for me?
Well, I would understand why you would want to do it from a utilitarian point of view, to keep on killing animals so that you can thrive and provide for your family. But I would consider it absolutely unethical, and I would do everything in my powers to stop you, even if that would mean that I would have to kill you.
Again, I didn't understand the last part.
Even if like it's really not your fault, but you are an anomaly, and you would have to kill thanks, and you would have to kill other ones to survive. That would not, and then we are at the carnivore topic that you still wanted to discuss. That would make you an obligate carnivore.
Sure.
Which in that form does not really exist, because we can feed any animal on a strictly plant-based diet as long as it gets all the nutrients, unless you are an anomaly, like we just stated in that hypothetical. I would not say, of course I would be happy for you that you can do that, but I would be very much not happy for all your victims, and I would definitely stop you from doing that, which would probably mean having to kill you or having to make you starve.
Exactly right. So in another hypothetical, then I'm going to be the vegan now with hypotheticals. I love it. So if it would apply, you come to find out, because many people, they change their perspective as well. So let's say you come to find out in a few years' time that actually humans are obligate carnivores, hypothetically. Would you then be in the position to say, I want to get them all killed?
So there's also no way that we feed them lab-grown meat.
That doesn't work.
That hypothetical, it doesn't work. It would be absolutely. The question that we would then have to pose is if there is a moral substantive difference between us and the animals that we are killing. And of course, every individual, like I would rather kill than die. In a situation, I would probably, like I said, kill the pig, even though it were unethical. But if I were like an omnipresent God, or if I were another alien species looking upon the human, like not the human planet, but the planet where humans live on, then I would either some way stop humans from eating other animals, which you already said in a hypothetical is not possible, or I would kill the humans. Yes, I would.
So you would kill the humans. So then extension from that question would be, why don't we kill all the obligate carnivores right now? Because there are plenty of them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just along the ocean, so many fish eating smaller fish.
Yeah, definitely. We should, of course, focus on the thing that causes the most suffering at the moment, the most needless suffering, which is our human species systematically enslaving, torturing, mutilating, degrading, discriminating, and murdering other animals. So we should stop that first. But to answer your questions, wild animal suffering is actually a term that you have probably already heard since you were 4 years ethical vegan, is a huge philosophical thing that we definitely have to look into. I know that there is, even in like the vegan community, a large debate on whether it is ethical or unethical to kill and cull carnivorous animals for the sake of the herbivorous animals. And I am actually rather in favor of it if it comes to a broken down situation. Like, for example, if I'm having a picnic and I see a snake wanting to eat a mouse, I would definitely stop the snake from eating the mouse. And there is, definitely, because I see a situation of violence from the perspective of the victim, and the victim here is mainly the mouse. I'm not saying that the snake is not a victim in having been born in a carnivorous animal's body. However, that's just pretty much unlucky. If I have an anomaly of a disease which forces me to rape children in order to be healthy, and I would die if I didn't rape children. Pardon?
That's dark.
Yeah, it's dark. Hypotheticals can be nice and fun and dark. So not that raping children is fun. Don't fucking get me wrong. Oh God, no. Let's just say that. Oh my God, no. So I am in this hypothetical scenario where I have a disease, or where someone else has a disease, not that you can link it back to me, where they have to rape children in order to survive. Okay?
Vegans in their examples, man. That's quite shocking.
Well, you are actually raping animals if you consume animal products,
yeah,
but that's a whole nother.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, like I said, there is no morally substantive difference between human children and other species children.
No, not at all. Just rape kids, guys.
Yeah, it's exactly as unethical as putting your arm in a cow and stealing her calf, and that's also rape. Anyways, we have somebody who has to do that in order to survive, and they tell you, oh my God, I raped 5 children yesterday. Aren't you happy for me? I can suddenly go to work and provide for my family. What would you respond to that person? Would you be happy for them?
Yeah, I would say you're sick.
You're sick. That's exactly what I'm thinking of you.
Yeah,
you're sick. You're sick for having to rape and murder
for me, it's
other
quite
animals.
Interesting. Yeah, I believe you. It's quite interesting for me to see how this vegan doctrine essentially takes complete hold of your perception, because just 1 year ago you weren't even vegan. Nowadays, on the other hand, your perception is so altered that you go out dressed up as a cow, demonstrate, argue, start hating people that are eating meat, etc., etc. So it has complete hold over your whole psychology. Ultimately, however, how this looks like to me, and I'm sure to many viewers as well, isn't God complex, because you cannot accept how this world is. You simply cannot accept it. If there is a snake eating another animal, bad, violence, you want to impose your will, that is subjective, onto the whole creation. So that is, by definition, a God complex, of course. Yeah.
It's funny putting a God complex on a vegan who does not think that he is superior to other animals.
Exactly. No, but you do think that you're superior to creation, to God. Now you are, because you see everything wrong with society. When I talked to this guy, what was his name again? Carnism Debunked, exactly. He said as well that, it would be good if animals would eat each other and wouldn't feel anything, like in a CGI movie, then it would be good. Who are you? Who are you to even say that? Who are you, question is, to say that the snake eating for food, for nutrition, the other animal is wrong? You see things as wrong because you have an indoctrinated vision that is not based on reality. That's it.
Okay. If a bear attacks you and I have the possibility to go in between you and the bear and save you from the bear, because he also wants to eat your beard because he subscribes to the same God that I do.
Don't you?
I do. And would you want me to step into that scenario and save you, or would you say no, the evolution, the bear should take you?
Up to you.
That's up to me. So if I have you then screaming at the top of your lungs, you would probably say, it's up to you, Raffaella, if you come and save me. It's totally your choice.
No, I would say that it says more about you in this context, in this hypothetical, yet again, if you want to save your fellow human or not. It depends on you. Yeah.
So I see the suffering.
I personally would save you, nevertheless, even if you're vegan,
I honestly, if you say that I should then save you, which would be the more ethical thing. No, but you would save me, so you said, okay, that's obviously for you the more ethical, the righter choice.
I would do that. I would do that.
Yeah. So for yourself, you would say that you would do that because you believe it's the right thing to do or the righter thing to do. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it. That's how the brain functions. You choose.
As I said already, we are created
Yeah.
in the image of God.
Okay,
You're
yeah.
a human being. I'm going to
Yeah.
save you. That's my perspective, yes.
Yeah, that's just, we're back to the speciesism. But I think we have also now gone through the
Why would that be
carnivorous
wrong?
thing, and we would just go through the whole speciesism thing again. There is no morally substantive difference between me as a human that you would save, but the mouse that you would not save. So other than me being created in the image of God, okay, that's your trade, which I think is absolutely absurd, which I've showed you that it's absurd. But at this point,
How did you do that? You didn't.
Well, I told you that I believe in a God that would make me
you said you
eat
believe
you.
that, yeah.
Yeah. So you would probably not think that that's right. And if you say that would be okay, or if I say that my religion is 100% right, it has to be the right religion. That's something that I believe in, that I have no evidence for. So
exactly.
Violence has to be justified, and me just saying that I believe,
justified violence.
Do you have objective evidence for your God?
Justified violence is, of course, a part of our system as well. For example, if you look at America, they still have the death penalty. Essentially, putting somebody into jail is a form of violence as well, right? So certain things of violence you will find even in a very liberal society. Moreover, you will see a liberal society invading certain countries under certain premises that are justified because of human rights. And then you see all of a sudden, justified. So I think we agree there. Ultimately, violence will be a part either way. It depends on how you lay it out. I simply said that my worldview is that God dictates the image of God being untouchable, so to speak, and that is what we seek to protect. Anything that goes against the human is obviously wrong. I do not care for any other food group that you call an animal. That's it.
Exactly. So we already had that. Like I said, if I believe in exactly the opposite of you, that I have to eat humans, that would not make it right. I have no evidence for my God that I believe in. You have no evidence for your religion to be more right than my religion.
I don't have evidence. As I said already, it would be a theological discussion, so look at it.
I do not want to go down the theological discussion.
We won't go down to it, but I have to explain that we have different methods of detecting truths, right? So that's just how it is. Truths. Right?
Okay.
So ultimately, we have philosophical means, we have theological means, we have scientific means. So certain questions cannot be examined in a laboratory. Therefore, you look at them philosophically, theologically, historically, etc., etc. So there are certain methods how you would deduct then what is true and which religion would be true as well. So you have debates about that, you have discussions about that. There will be a different discussion, of course. So if you could then, in a hypothetical, present that your religion is right and the dust god is correct, then yes, you would be correct.
Yeah, but since there is no way that we have found to find evidence for any god out there, and that there is a multitude of religions who all claim that they're the right ones, and they use violence and they justify it through their religions, where each and every single one believes that they're right, this is obviously not something that we should do until we have found any evidence of God. But at this point, I must honestly say, I think we have had a lot of topics covered, and it was fun, honestly, at least for me. And I would like to conclude for my part with a finishing statement, if that's okay for you.
Sure. One question. Do you want to stay back, let's say 5 minutes, because we had just a few super chats as well that were questions for you?
Okay, yeah, I can do that. I would still finish this before, though, what I wanted to say.
Yeah, go for it, no worries.
So so you can still ask questions to the following that I'm going to say. If you don't want to be racist because you are against discrimination on the basis of arbitrary traits like skin color or sex or gender identity, then you must, following ethical principles, also not discriminate against other individuals on the basis of their species. So if you're against racism, then please also do not be a speciesist. Look up speciesism. You can watch movies on the topic of animal industries and what happens in the animal industries on this link, an3x.org. And there's also a short movie which I have made, which is called Why Vegan? I have it there in German and in English. So just click the language button at the top. It just takes 8 minutes. If you have any questions or want to debate me personally, just hit me up in the Discord chat, w.discord.gg/veg. You can find us there. This is where we're having this discussion right now. And don't do upon others which you do not want to have done upon yourself. This is the definition of veganism. Thank you for having me on until now.
Amazing. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, so we have some questions here by Ruben. Thank you very much for your super chat. Die-Vegan? Or is it Die-Vegan? Die-Vegan. You just made multiple appeals to human nature. What? Yet you can't have a human nature in Darwinism because it is predicted on a constant flux. Stop your sophistry and gish galloping and answer the questions of morality. As I said, let me just answer real quick. I never got an answer from a vegan. There's not a knock on you, I really mean this. I never got an answer from a vegan where right and wrong comes from. It's always relative, but wrong to eat animals. So it's always the same answer, and I didn't expect anything else today. Do you want to say anything?
I said multiple times that right and wrong comes from the logics of ethics and the fact that I can think and therefore I can feel.
Okay. Pink Supremacy donated $3. Thank you so much. She says, no need to be passive-aggressive, militant. Here's a question. How come sperm count and sex hormones drop significantly on a plant-based diet if that diet is truly an option for us? A drop in the 2 parameters above would eventually lead to extinction.
That's actually funny because I heard a podcast on the topic of libido, penile erection, and sperm count today. And conductive research has stated that plant-based penises, the erectile function is a lot better in plant-based penises. Of course, because of the factors that also make coronary heart disease, fatty streaks along of vessels and stuff. And the second part is that the sperm count is actually 38% higher on people who eat a plant-based diet in comparison to the average person not eating a plant-based diet. So 38% better sperm count. So that is a false statement.
Yeah, I take that podcast over any study any day as well. Another question.
That's a study, actually. It was a podcast about studies, like I said, Absolutely. But I can send it over to you if you want to.
Sure, absolutely. Is she pro, I have to censor this, pro-jab?
Oh, you cannot say the word or what?
Unfortunately not.
I didn't know that was a question. Because I heard one of your videos before and I was like, what is he saying to call it the C? I can probably not say it here because you will probably, am I pro? Well, I have a rather sinister opinion on that one. And I would rather not, disclose it, honestly.
Okay, up to you. Another one, does she find the male physical body of an animal eater more attractive than a vegan eater?
Jesus Christ, no, of course. Well, if I'm just looking at people from a superficial point of view, they can be very attractive physically if I don't know if they eat animal products or not. So there are many men where I believe, God damn, you look hot. And then I see their feeds and I see all the animal products that they're eating. And I'm like, I take it back. So a male person, and I'm heterosexual mostly, a male person actively contributing to needless suffering of other of other individuals is a massive turnoff for me. So no, I do not find that animal murderers are attractive. No.
Right. Couldn't be that those animal murderers look attractive in the first place because they nourish themselves via animal foods. That couldn't be. Well,
I didn't say that they necessarily look better, but I actually have the
vegans look much hotter for sure. Long-term
well, I enjoy a slim physique in humans, be it
you're
female
on the right address with vegans.
Yeah, sure. I like shredded muscular men. So
shredded muscular.
The BMI, it's the
BMI.
English also BMI. Sorry, thanks. BMI in vegans is actually, if you look at the whole population, where the studies where the only people who have a normal BMI or a healthy BMI range, not a normal one, because the normal one is actually overweight at the moment. So naturally, I'm rather attracted to people who have a healthy BMI than people who are overweight. Well, not naturally, but I personally am. So therefore, I am statistically speaking probably rather attracted to vegans because they have, statistically speaking, a lower BMI. So yeah.
Okay, Modest Twit, thank you very much. He says vegans are the speciesist and racist apparently because they don't care about mice, foxes, snakes, etc. I actually didn't even mention that. Thank you for the reminder. Does she get her 100 grams of protein daily and how does she do it? Okay, there are many different questions.
Many questions.
First and foremost, he mentioned the crop deaths. I don't know how versed you are on that field, if you want to talk about it.
Yeah. On that field, but okay, sorry, that was funny to me. So most crop deaths happen on lands where you plant crops. For whom are most crops planted? For the animals. So we have over 80% of the crops on the whole planet who are only being cropped, harvested for the animals that they're fed to. More than 90% of the calories are diminished by going through the stages of animal industry. So a pig, for example, or any other animal in the animal industry has to eat grass, has to eat vegetables, has to eat crops, mostly soy and mostly corn. So more than 80% of the soy production on the planet is actually being made for the animals in the animal industries and not for the bad vegans. So most crop deaths also happen for the animals in the animal industries. And next you're going to probably say, grass-fed beef, I only eat grass-fed beef, no. Of course, also crop deaths happen for grass-fed beef since it's pasture death and not crop death. And they have to cut down the grass for the grass that they eat, the hay, in the winters. So nearly all, as far as I know, beef and cattle has to eat hay in the winter months. So there is no difference in cutting down oats and cutting down grass. Also, and I think Vegan Gains already debunked that point of view where you once talked to a farmer about crop deaths and he's showing you some mice and stuff. Yeah, he
proved it. He knows more than a farmer. Vegan Gains. He knows more than all farmers together. The God.
The farmer wanted to try to communicate that crop deaths happen when he puts oats on a field while he was literally standing next to huge hay balls that he had to cut down with exactly the same machine that he would usually harvest oats with, where also crop deaths happen, of course. And I wish I could open the paper for you, but a paper by Stephen Davis, he put that myth out into the world, which is still going around in the meat-eating people of the world, for example, you. And he put out a paper where he stated that it's, he said that there are much less crop deaths by raising grass-fed beef, and then there has been a correction to that paper by Gavrik Matheny a couple of years later, 2003, that first article came out, and he identified a crucial error in Davis' calculation. It assumed that equal amounts of land will produce equal amounts of food from crops or from animals on pasture. In fact, an amount of land will produce much more food when used to grow crops for direct human consumption than when used to raise cattle, provided it is suitable for growing crops. And then there is a great graphic that I can send you to, of course, the number of animals killed to produce 1 million calories in 8 food categories, where beef is actually one of the worst, and grains actually one of the best when it comes to killing as little as possible animals on crops, but you wouldn't mind anyways.
Did you know that 80% of the plants that are produced for human consumption ultimately end up not being fed to animals, because animals always get the B grade plants. So essentially 80% of those plants that go to animals are not for human consumption in the first place. Did you ever hear that?
I don't understand. I just said before, 80% of the crops are there to be fed to animals.
It is waste products from the soy production. It is waste products from the beer production.
So that would be new to me, but it doesn't really matter.
80% of the animal feed, those plants, they're not meant for human consumption. We couldn't even eat them to begin with.
No.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, look it up.
yeah, even if we could not eat them to begin with, they would still have to eat something, and then we would still be wasting a field where we could grow crops that we could technically eat, and we don't even have to use all the crop fields that we're using right now. So we would still have a
huge
lot
plant
more
waste though,
crops.
because those 80% of plants cannot be eaten.
Yeah,
by
those
humans.
90% of calories that we waste when we put them through the animal industry.
We really
so
cannot eat
that is actually a huge waste.
Does she get her 100 grams of protein daily?
I don't know. You tell me. Yeah, I have been building muscle easily on a vegan diet. I have been malnourished when I was 16, 17. So I feel a lot where you came from, because you said that you've been dieting since age 12, which really fucks with your brain. And I'm actually really sorry that I feel, I think that you have an eating disorder and a body image disorder. I'm not sure. I hope that you don't. And I really hope that you will get over that.
Thank you.
I had
I appreciate
one.
that.
No, I mean, if you have one, then I'm really, really sorry for you. It definitely looks like from your videos, because you've been like slimming. Anyways, I don't want to. I have had one, and it was not fun. And I came into eating plant-based diets just like you, through dieting, through wanting to get fit and stuff.
That's not how I got into it at all.
You said that you've been interested in nutrition very early.
Yes, but that's not how I got into veganism.
Okay.
I got into it just for ethical reasons.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. There's no other reason to get into veganism, but I definitely got into plant-based eating through. Pardon?
For ethics, yes. For ethics. I didn't go plant-based for any type of dietary approach.
No, that has nothing to do with poor ethics, but never mind. So what was the question? If I get enough protein? I've definitely been building my shape and my physique, and I do believe that I am a rather fit woman for my age compared.
Now the question is, do you get 100 grams of protein?
I don't know if I eat 100 grams of protein. I don't think so. I don't count macros. I don't know.
Just give me a second. Sorry.
Possible.
Can I just keep you for 1 minute? My son is screaming. Just give me a second.
Oh no! Go feed him some dead animals. It will make everything better.
Kann man mich hören, ja, ne?
Ja, kann man mich hören? Sind wir noch live eigentlich, oder hat er gerade seinen Stream aufgedreht?
Wir sind live. Hallo.
Habt ihr noch irgendwelche,
Hallo an alle.
irgendwelche krassen Fragen, die ihr stellen wollt? Weil ich will unbedingt noch Vegan Gains mit reinbringen.
Hallo an alle Zuschauer. Kommt auf Vegan Dreamland auf Discord.
Ich weiß nicht, ob die uns hören können, weil der Stream ist ja auf YouTube. Ich glaube nicht. Pausiert. Ich glaube auch.
Die können uns nicht hören aus dem Grund, weil er jetzt gerade Pause gemacht hat.
Ja, ich glaube auch. Ja. Aber habt ihr noch irgendwelche Fragen, die ihr stellen wollt? Oder irgendwelche Sachen? Eugen?
No.
Okay. Ich darf das nicht vergessen.
Man hört euch. Ich kann echt nicht glauben. Das ist für mich einfach nur ein Troll, der Typ.
Ja, aber wir schlagen uns ja. Leute, kriegt niemals Kinder. Müsst ihr eure YouTube-Debatten unterbrechen.
Nein, macht Vasektomien, Leute.
Macht Vasektomien, Leute.
Hab schon gemacht, ist einfach besser als, schneller als ein Zahnarztbesuch. 20 Minuten, schnapp, let's go. Und dann könnt ihr es richtig machen lassen.
Der Bursch spricht aus Erfahrung.
Oh, ich muss aufs Klo. Soll ich schnell aufs Klo gehen?
Klar.
Ich gehe schnell aufs Klo, falls er zurückkommt.
Yo, sorry to keep you waiting.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, she's gone.
No, I was just gone for a second. Can I get back to the protein thing for a second?
Yes, that's the question.
I actually
And
found
yes, I
my
fed my
old...
son a lot of dead animals and secretions, so now he's fit again.
Yeah,
Thank you
Great,
for your
I'm
concern.
happy for you. I'm sorry, I think my camera is a bit, I don't know. So I actually found my old diet plan where I calculated my protein. And the question was, if I get 100-gram protein, I can easily get that. I could easily get that with that plan. I did not calculate for snacks that I ate. I only did breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I got 80 grams of protein. And like I said, there were no smoothies in between where I usually put in some protein powder when I felt like it, or I ate nuts and seeds and stuff, or a piece of bread with something, which gives you probably the additional 10 gram. I am a very slim person, so I don't think that I need 100 grams of protein. And actually, we get more sicknesses if we eat too many grams of
Is
protein.
that so?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so you heard it here, guys. Bread has protein as well. Gluten protein,
Yeah.
really, really good for you. Just get it from bread. It's much better than meat. Fantastic. Okay, so we had another question by artist. Just says, thank you for all you do. No worries, thank you very much. As we said, the vegans, they get to appreciate us in the long run. At first they hate us, then they start questioning, then they start loving us. As for
Oh my
right
God,
now,
that's
she really loves my
Schopenhauer.
beard. As you heard, she really loves my beard. She
Oh,
can't
no.
keep her eyes off it. But very, very
No.
soon, she's going to love me so much more for my humanitarian, philanthropic work that I do here on this channel as well. Such an angel. Yeah, anyways, I think that was it. Now, one more. Does she believe in flat earth? Asking for fun?
Oh.
Because most likely not. She's an atheist, Big Bang Theory vegan. Do you believe in flat earth? Is the question.
Sorry, the first part. So the question is if I believe in flat earth. No, I don't believe in flat earth, but honestly, I would rather believe in flat earth than eating animals. So, yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, anyways, those were the questions. Thank you very much, guys. Thank
Wait,
you
I
very
still
much
have
as
one
well.
last question to you.
Go for it.
When will you debate vegan gains?
Never.
Why not? Why have you run away?
I ran away, absolutely. I'm never going to debate vegan gains because vegan gains is my jealous ex-girlfriend. He didn't even get the joke. It was quite unfortunate. I told him that I'm absolutely open to debate him, to discuss him, no worries. Then he started bombarding my phone. It was absolutely ridiculous. He added me on Messenger, was writing me every single day, was blowing up my text messages, and I said, yeah, dude, just give me a week, whatever. And he kept on terrorizing. Then I thought it would be very, very funny to actually not debate him and to not give him any publicity whatsoever. Since I decided to do that, honestly, his channel has been going down and down and down and down, and nowadays he kind of fades into obscurity. Why are you laughing?
Yeah.
He's getting really, really little clicks. He has almost 300,000 viewers and has only 5,000 views. That's very, very little. So I think that if we further ignore, he will be just a thing of the past very, very soon. Yeah.
I mean, if you think that he's such a jealous ex-girlfriend, couldn't you settle that in an MMA match?
I said yes, let's go.
So you would do that?
Yes, absolutely. But I even said, why MMA match? Let's just street fight.
Yeah. So we'll take you by your word. I will get back to vegan gains. When would you be capable of doing that?
Street fighting him?
Yeah, when is your...
Come at me,
when, next month, like give me a date so that you none of you can be loved. No, give me a realistic date. Today is not a realistic
Come by,
date.
whenever.
Okay, whenever. Okay. I will get and if that does not happen in the next 2 or 3 months, you are not a man of your word, Bobby.
Again, I will beat him up on the street.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay. In the next 2 or 3 months. I'm taking your word for it.
Come at me.
I'm taking your word for it. If Bobby does not fight vegan gains in the next 2 or 3 months, he is not a man of his word.
Absolutely.
All right.
No problem at all. It's very hilarious that vegan gains in the first place challenges people to MMA matches. He never trains MMA. I actually do. But still, I don't want to fight him in an MMA ring. I want to fight him on the street.
Okay, so you will fight him on the street in the next 2 or 3 months.
To death.
Not to death. No,
to death.
Not to death.
No, to death.
You do not kill humans. You already said that.
To death.
And vegan gains, last time I checked, is a human.
To death. No, he's not.
Oh, no.
To death.
No.
To death. So if he wants to fight me to death, let's do it. Let's go.
So you will only fight him to death?
To death.
You will only fight him to death?
To death.
Okay, so you just said that right now so that you don't have to fight him. That's your reason to add that.
I want to fight him to death. What's wrong with that?
All right. Never mind. Thank you for the stream. Yeah. Thanks for having me on. Everybody go vegan. If you do not want to be at the slaughterhouse yourself, then do not put it onto others. And watch the movies on an3x.org and come and discuss with us in the vegan channel.
Fantastic.
Thanks.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Bye. Have a great
Bye-bye.
evening.